What up, investors? It's February 12th, and I hope that you enjoyed the Super Bowl as much as I did today. It's a good game, high scoring, great plays, great offense. Everything that you wanted in the Super Bowl, I think we got this time around with two great quarterbacks playing the game. I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but congratulations if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Usually I want you to just crash and burn. This time around I didn't mind too much because the Broncos were just sucking all season long. Okay, so good for you guys. We'll see you next season. Hopefully our coach can give you a better fight than we've given you in the last few years. All right, so we're gonna go over this earnings week prep and tell you what's kind of been happening in the last couple of days and what to prepare for this week on the economic calendar and earnings that are still in full swing. Let's get to it. All right, so here we go. So we got the Super Bowl today, just like we're talking about. And the way that I think about it as an investor is 21st Century Fox is the people that are the folks that are providing the coverage for the Super Bowl. And guess who owns those guys? Mickey Mouse does. And we're shareholders of Disney, so we reap the benefits, all right? So we talk about advertising revenue for our bottom line as Disney shareholders, right? So according to DraftKings Nation, which is another stock that we own, I follow that DraftKings Nation for kind of like, sort of these kind of news and financial news for gambling and things like this, right? The prices actually of advertising is not much more this year than it was last year, if reports are to be believed. The year ago Super Bowl commercials were going for as much as $7 million per 30 seconds on NBC. This year, some ads are going for north of 7 per variety, but it's not clear how many are at that price, right? So let's say it's $7 million for 30 seconds. You're talking millions and millions of dollars to Mickey Mouse, Mickey and Minnie's bottom line, which is what we want to see as shareholders. So good thing for a shareholder from both the perspective of Disney, which we hold, and DraftKings, also big benefactors of the Super Bowl and the success of the NFL. Now let's move on to something a little more rare, which has been going on in the news today. We had some fun with this on Instagram and Twitter today, but we had this crazy sort of Chinese sort of UFO action going on across the U.S., right? So we had the China balloon last week for sure. We remember this guy and how it got shot down off the coast of the Carolinas, right? And of course, over Alaska, the cylinder over Alaska, right? This cylindrical shaped object that was shot down over Alaska and ended up in some kind of ice lake or ice river, whatever it was. I think it was a lake, and the Alaska National Guard is going to recover at the moment, but there's conflicting accounts as to what it was, what it could have been. I'm thinking something different, okay? I'm not going to say what I think it is, but I'm thinking something different. And then over Michigan, Lake Huron, we have an octagon-shaped object that was shot down there, right? So we got this from Northern Command. This is the Commander Van Herk, or General Van Herk from Northern Command, saying, I'm not going to categorize them as balloons. And he's talking about these two guys, the cylinder and the octagon. We're calling them objects for a reason when asked about the physical characteristics of the objects. So pretty interesting stuff, guys. So from the shareholder perspective, the way that I'm thinking about it is Raytheon, okay? Raytheon Technologies. It's a publicly listed company. Pretty good stock, pretty well-valued stock, in my opinion. They're shooting these guys down more than likely, and I'm sure the Chinese one was shot down with this Sidewinder missile made by Raytheon Technologies. The other two, not so sure, but I'm sure it's probably something along the same lines. So if it's all China, I guess they're planning just to bankrupt us into shooting missiles at anything that moves that we don't recognize in the air, which is a pretty good deal for Raytheon Technologies, selling these missiles at about $250,000 to $300,000. This is the description here from ChatGPT. Is a rough estimate. The cost of a single AIM-9X Sidewinder air-to-air missile, which is the latest version of the Sidewinder missile, is around $250,000 to $300,000 each. However, this cost can vary greatly depending on specific circumstances of each sale, maybe like a contract. It's also worth noting that these costs change over time due to limitations and other economic factors. So let's say it's $250,000 every time they shoot one down, right? We're looking at probably millions of dollars, not including the missile, the fuel for the fighter jets, the pay, hazard pay, all kinds of things that these fighter pilots get paid, cost of maintenance on jet fighters and scrambling and paying the guys who clear the airspace. I mean, it's a lot of logistical stuff. Hopefully Palantir has an eye on this as well, okay, from the shareholder perspective. But kind of a little bit fun tidbit there for you guys. Now let's move on to the serious stuff. We're going to move and look at the economic calendar for this coming week, all right? So Tuesday is the only event. Monday, we don't have anything. Tuesday, we have Consumer Price Index, CPI. This is going to be a very important read. It's important that you understand, of course, the consensus, 0.5% month over month, and 6.2% year over year. We want this number to be cooler than expected, somewhere around maybe a 6. If we get a 5 handle, excellent. We get a 5 handle on the year over year CPI, all right? Now, CPI is going to change the way that it reports, not this time around, but for the month of February. Okay, they usually take comparisons over the last 2 years as far as the current read. Next month for February CPI that comes out in March, they're going to read over a 1-year basis. So prepare for the CPI number to surprise to the upside starting in March. So for this one, if it comes in hot, whatever, but next month I think it's going to be a big surprise. So if we do get a sort of flat number or higher than expected, expect stocks to get demolished. Probably maybe 1,000 points in the Dow, 500 points in the NASDAQ at least, and the S&P probably maybe anywhere between 3 to 5% as far as the downside of those indices, okay? Now, Wednesday, retail sales, of course, we watch that every time it comes out. We expect retail sales to remain strong as employment remains very strong in the economy. Business inventories, it's another type of inflation, sort of a proxy inflation read. And then Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations, it's another type of proxy read on inflation. And Thursday, we got jobless claims. This is the weekly stuff that they go over, and PPI, Producer Price Index. This is CPI, Consumer. This is Producer. So this is the measure of inflation of the consumer perspective, and this is for the business perspective of inflation. All right, now let's move on to the earnings calendar, and it's a little bit of a softer week for us as far as the earnings calendar. Not a lot to go on over here. So Monday, we have the big dog. Nothing in the morning, of course, that interests us. We have Palantir. That's our big dog that we're watching for the account. Very interesting things for Palantir. Not a lot of expectations there as far as what you should expect from Palantir. The expectation, according to Seeking Alpha, looks for 3 cents EPS, earnings per share, and revenue estimates of about $504 million, up 16.6% year over year. You have to remember the guide from Alex Karp is about 30% growth year over year. I don't know if this falls short of that expectation. I think it does. But at the end of the day, that 30% expectation, I don't think that in an environment, in a sort of high inflation environment, high rate environment, is very possible, in my opinion. But leaving all that aside, I do expect a number better than this 500 million estimate for revenue. The problem always is going to be that profitability on an adjusted basis. They always show some adjusted basis profitability. I don't pay too much attention to that adjusted basis because it takes out that stock-based compensation sort of item for Palantir, which has always been a problem. I expect that to continue to be a problem, especially with layoffs from Microsoft, from Amazon, from all these tech names, Facebook. Palantir's probably salivating at those layoffs and trying to take the top talent that is being laid off from those companies and enticing them big time with big stock-based compensation packages. So once they report after the close, which is the first time I think ever that they report after the close, which kind of makes me a little bit hopeful, but not too hopeful, of course. I hope that they will do good, if they report it after the close. Now, moving on, Tuesday, nothing in the morning that interests me. Devon Energy is a name that we put in our bullpen, a stock that we're very interested into adding into a portfolio if the opportunity presents itself. We're talking close to an 8% dividend yield on Devon Energy. It's a very enticing yield. And the price of gas, I do not expect it to fall below 70 at any point in time. Remember, these guys are, or actually not these guys, most of the oil sector breaks even at about $35 a barrel. Of course, a barrel right now is trading at about 75 to 80. But these guys the industry breaks even at 35. These guys break even at $30 a barrel, which increases their level of profitability, lets them pass that profitability to the shareholder through dividends and share buybacks. So Devon Energy, very enticing stock, okay, to watch out for. Nothing else for Tuesday or Wednesday, and Thursday we got DraftKings reporting after the close. This is another stock that traditionally reports on a Friday, and on a Friday, companies that only report before the bell, early in the morning. For me, Pacific time, I have to wake up like at 5 in the morning or be awake like at 4:30, 5 o'clock to hear the earnings presentation and get the earnings release and kind of go over it. Maybe you had some coffee or something, or maybe I'll get a coffee and turn on the computer and read that stuff. But nicely done here, keeping it after the close. When these companies change their reporting style from morning to afternoon, sort of investors get kind of hyped, like, okay, do they have something different, right? Is there a reason for doing this? Hopefully there is a reason, and that reason is positive, and they can talk a lot of positive things about the NFL season, which is now over, and the Super Bowl. And then after DraftKings, we had DoorDash, which will loosely follow DoorDash because we own Uber now. It's our newest stock in our portfolio, and Redfin because we own Rocket Mortgage, okay? And then John Deere is one that I always like to listen to for the state of the economy. So that's it for today, guys. Very short video, but good to know these things that are coming up. Hopefully that I give you some value from these videos. Again, press like, subscribe. Let me know how it can be helpful to you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, here in the comment section. Peace out.